What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be showcasing my internal operations and automations that we're going to be leveraging to create campaigns extremely quickly. This is an example of the automation, which after we create the campaign, we update the email sequence, update the categorization stuff, add all of the email accounts into Smartlead, create the subsequence associated with the specific client into that campaign. We create the clay table for that specific campaign to speed up our list building efforts and so much more, right? And this is how we currently generate the copywriting. And so we have a knowledge base with a bunch of CTAs, hooks, bodies, all of that stuff, which we are then gluing together to come up with the email copywriting. And so this is an example of a playbook. We have chosen one hook, we've chosen another email body, and then we've chosen the CTA. And then we leverage all of this information to create an email draft. Obviously, this is just messed up. I was messing with it, but we can actually show you an example, right? So let's do Affluence, for example, which is an influencer software. And in a second, this is going to change. What this is doing, by the way, is it's obviously taking the playbook stuff, and then we're also looking at the client database to find the description, the value prop, and the pain points associated with that particular client, which we are then going to leverage to create the campaigns. And so when we go back to the playbooks over here, we can look at the email draft, and this is what it says. Are you finding it challenging to manage influencer partnerships and track campaign success effectively? And obviously, we are able to make adjustments to this email to fit whatever we want, right? This really just serves as a starting point for us to create the campaigns. And what we then do is we use that playbook in our campaign creation process, generate the copy, generate the spin tags for that copywriting, manually create the variations, add the campaign to Smartlead, which is the automation I just showed you, and then the campaign is active. And what we're targeting is this right here. So we're trying to create 10 net new campaigns in less than 1 hour if we're trying to like go quickly, and then one new campaign in an hour if we're trying to create the best possible campaign. By the way, this is going to include everything, right? The clay tables, the lead list, pretty much everything from start to finish. We're trying to do it within 1 hour, and I think it's totally possible. Like, I've done that many times before. um but this is the key word, which is net new, right? And so I've just shown you how we create the playbook, right? We already have a structure in mind that we want to leverage, and then we customize it to the specific client. And so when we look at this playbook for over here for another client, which is Voller, it says, hey, actually, no, I was messing around with this one. Let's look at this one, right? I saw how you help people mission what they do and wanted to reach out. Are you facing challenges in managing regulatory compliance and power conservation and product design, right? So this is still the same idea that you had just seen with Upfluence, with this company, with pretty much any company that we're going to put in the old playbook system. It's always going to come out like this. Now, the problem is they're all targeting different industries, different ICPs, different things. And so when you cram every single person into one very specific playbook, it's not going to work. An example of this is this hook right here. I saw how you help people mission what they do and wanted to reach out. This is a perfectly awesome hook for a small e-com business where you're targeting the founder, because the founder, they care about what they're doing, they know what they do. It's really like great for them. But if you're targeting like a product manager in a 500 employee company, they could care less about all of that stuff, right? And so for that type of person, you might want to reference something more aligned with their job and their existing goals and that type of stuff, right? And so this playbook system does not allow us to do that. We can have 50 playbooks, and some of those playbooks are going to have the information, but that's going to add a lot of complexity, and I want to reduce the amount of complexity. And so what I'm thinking of doing, this is going to be one of the shortest videos, is really just scrapping the entire playbook system. Just gone. It's scrapped. And what I'm going to replace it with is these email AI generating platforms like Twain, and there's many others, right? And what these AI generating platforms do is they basically research the website, and then they're going to find the persona and then help you create emails depending on different use cases. And so this is an example of where we're targeting a product manager with a pain point focus with this type of email. If we wanted to do a follow-up, for example, we can generate a follow-up. And then it's like, hey, are you dealing with challenges integrating sensors and wireless, right? We can go back to this one over here, by the way, which is the original point I was I was mentioning, which is like the hook, right? This is very specific to a product manager in the type of company that Volar Systems would want to target. This is not something that we're able to do with structured playbooks, right? And so what we're going to do is we're basically going to take this stuff, right? We take this type of email, we go to our campaigns, put that into this custom field, and then we've got the email, right? So this looks great to us. And then from here, what we're then going to do is basically generate the spin tags, because most of these platforms, they're not able to generate the spin tags on our behalf. And then we're going to manually create the variations. And so we can try to focus on different things that we want. But realistically, manually creating email variations is like way easier than generating the copywriting idea. And so I do prefer to do it manually. And then we can add the campaign to Smartlead, which none of these tools are going to be able to help you do. They're not going to be able to create the subsequences. They're not going to be able to create the clay tables and associate them back to the campaign. They're not going to be able to update the schedule, update the sequence, or add the auto categorization, add the email accounts. They're not going to be able to do that. And so when we're thinking through, should we outsource this or should we do it in house? That's what I'm thinking through. I'm thinking through like what is worth my time that none of these other platforms are going to be able to do, and what is not worth my time that I can outsource. And this right here is a perfect example of that. We can actually just, rather than us generating the copy and spending uh, dozens of hours creating a bunch of playbooks, which we've done before, we can actually just outsource that, have the emails generated for us, make manual changes as we see fit, and then be done. And so this was actually supposed to be a big project. When we go back to this screenshot over here, I was thinking through what I'm going to be spending my weekend doing. And this was what I was going to do. I was going to be figuring out a way to create 80 email campaigns and 20 weekly campaigns for clients. And that's it. That's the solution. It's just outsourcing that particular portion, because that particular portion is what's currently taking a bunch of my time. And so there you go. That's how I think through this stuff. And by the way, when we look at my internal operations, we've got 50 active automations. 42 of them are inactive. This is what I'm really proud of. A lot of these automations are like sick, like actually amazing automations. But I've just removed them entirely or outsourced them. An example of this is this right here, which is the DMark open tracking, DKIM. All of these work so great. Like they're actually like this is a sick automation. It allows us to create hundreds of domains in literal minutes. Like insane. But we don't need to do that. Like we could just outsource that to like a reseller or SMTP provider or something of that nature. And by the way, when we do this, when we outsource these things, look at the price. Look at the price. Like Twain is like $25 a month for 500 credits. What is 500 credits, by the way? Let me show you what a credit is. Let's go to share resource. Share resource, generate, boom. That just use a credit. We're at 131 right now. That just use a credit. Let's do another one. Generate, and then boom, 129. That just use another credit. And so we're using credits, but it's like so like inconsequential. Like when we think about like how much time we're saving, it doesn't even make a dent. Like my time's way is worth way more than $25 a month, 500 for 500 different emails. Like what? But at the same time, as you've seen, like Twain's not going to be able to help me do all of this stuff. And so these things we want to automate. The previous part, generating the copy, we don't want to automate that part because that's really, really complex. And other companies have solved that for us. We might as well just use those other companies.